Meeting of May 5th, 2022 to order. Commissioner Christie, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please rise, place your hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Christie,
Here.
Commissioner Hardy,
Here.
Commissioner Shipp, Commissioner Pena Sarmiento,
Here.
Commissioner Lay,
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin, Vice Chair Marashi,
Here.
Chair Rush. Vice Chair, you have quorum. For the record, Commissioner Pena Sarmiento is participating via Zoom.
And we have the excused absences of the others. We'll do that later. Okay, great. All right. Before we begin, I'd like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphone on when speaking and off when done. And when speaking, place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Thank you. Members of the public may attend the Historic Resource Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in this meeting.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal, www.santa-ana.primegov.com/public/portal, and to YouTube, www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide a public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom. Enter meeting ID 8734826512 when the item you would like to comment on is being discussed. Select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-9128. Enter meeting ID 8734826512. When the item you would like to comment on is being discussed, press *9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you are called upon, you must press *6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to the public comments on non-agenda items. Secretary, does anyone wish to speak?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Vice Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. I would like to pull item B, absences, if I may, and hold that for a little bit later to see if Commissioner McLaughlin shows up before the end of the meeting. Are there any other items any commissioners would like to pull? Okay, is there a motion to approve item A, the minutes from the March 3rd meeting, and item C, which is the Historic Preservation Agreement number 2022-04?
Move for approval.
All right, moved by Commissioner Christie. Do I hear a second?
I'll be happy to second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Hardy. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Shipp? Commissioner Pena Sarmiento?
Yes.
Commissioner Lay,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin, Vice Chair Marashi,
Yes.
Chair Rush. Motion approved by majority with commission members Carpenter, Shipp, and Commissioner McLaughlin absent. And Chair Rush absent.
Thank you. Moving on to the business calendar. Please note the formal action by the Historic Resource Commission shall become effective after the 10th day appeal period, unless the City Council holds a public hearing on the matter. Then the formal action will become effective on the day following the hearing and decision by the City Council. An appeal from the decision or requirement of the commission must be filed with the clerk of the council and a copy sent to the planning department within 10 days of the date of the commission's actions. The appeal may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. Public hearing protocols. I'll now review the process for the public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect tonight. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. The public hearing will then be open. The applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to respond to the comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following when organizing your comments. State your name and address, which is strictly voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. This is the time and place to consider item number 1. Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-1, Historic Register Categorization number 2022-2, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-6 for the property located at 2010 North Greenleaf Street. Please note the decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendations on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item?
Mr. Chair, I visited this property on Wednesday, but did not speak to the occupant.
Thank you, Commissioner Christie. Any others? I also want to disclose that today I had the privilege and pleasure of talking to the homeowner this afternoon and seeing the home. Okay. Staff Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and Commissioners. Before we start with item number 1, I do want to provide a refresher for the Commission on the 2 categories that we'll be seeing tonight. One is the landmark category. To be considered as a landmark, a property must be on the National Register or eligible to be placed on the register. It must be on the state register or eligible to be placed on the register. It must have a historical or cultural significance to the city or have a unique architectural significance. The second category that we'll be seeing today is the contributive category. In order for a property to be categorized as contributive, it must contribute to the overall character and history of a neighborhood or district and be a good example of period architecture. Okay. Item number 1 is a request to place the property address as 2010 Greenleaf on the register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The Campbell Jeffrey House is a Tudor Revival style house constructed in 1928 for D.W. Campbell. D.W. Campbell was a former assistant city treasurer. It was general manager of the Southern Pacific in Los Angeles and headed the panel of the rationing board. D.W. Campbell resided on the property for 2 years before selling the property to Mrs. Mary Jeffrey. Mrs. Mary Jeffrey was considered an Orange County pioneer, along with her late husband, William Jeffrey, who passed in 1921. They were both prominent in the growth and progress of the community since they arrived in Orange County in 1897. The house qualifies for listing in the Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties under Criterion 1 as a representative and intact example of the Tudor Revival home. Additionally, the house has been categorized as contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of the Floral Park neighborhood and is a good example of period architecture representing the Tudor Revival style in Santa Ana. Character defining features of the house include its massing composition, the fairly steep pitched roof incorporating a side gabled body with a projecting front gable, the stucco exterior with decorative half timbering, the multi-light casement windows, the original entry, and the prominent tall chimney. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-1, HRC 2022-2, and recommend that the City Council authorize HPPA 2022-6. That concludes staff's report. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this property.
Does the commission have any questions of staff?
I do. Okay, maybe I misread this in the description. On page 1-2, bottom of the last paragraph at the bottom. The third line from the bottom. Okay, Pedro? And I guess it's talking about the multi-light casing windows and 9/1 double hung wood windows, each shaded with black fabric awning with wrought iron spear support. Could you bring back the picture, please? There you go. I see the spears on the windows up there. Where are the awnings? Am I misinterpreting that?
No, Commissioner, that can't be seen from this image shown.
As I was out there and I went around, to all sides in the front, I don't see any black awnings.
If I
But
may,
I see where the black 1, 2, 3, 4, the spears are. Where's the awning?
the awning is over by the front door, which is on the left side of that picture. The front door is on the left side, and it's just before you get to that front door is where the black awning is.
Would be the south elevation.
Okay, could you restate that so it doesn't appear as I'm reading that it's on all the windows? You see the way that they wrote that and so forth? Because I'm looking at what you're writing on here and I'm going, where's the awnings? Okay, so that needs a clarification right then and there, in the report. Okay.
If I may, to clarify your question, Commissioner, I believe the page that we were referring to, 1-2, states, let's see, fenestration on the side and rear elevations consist of multi-light casement windows and 9/1 double hung windows, each shaded with black fabric awnings and wrought iron spear supports. So the image on the screen here would be considered the front elevation.
Okay, so that's the front elevation.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so
so-
it should be in the back. Okay.
Correct.
It should have some distinction there.
Okay.
Okay, and putting there, because if you read that, it seems like we're talking about all the windows, especially in the front part of it. Okay.
Yeah, and again, to further clarify, the side and rear elevations is listed on here. So the front elevation would be here, the sides would be the south and the north, and then the rear elevation would be to the west.
Okay.
So the south elevation or the sides can't really be seen on this image.
Right. Okay, so you have a little more clarification there.
Perfect.
Other than that, the great home. Okay.
Do any of the other commissioners have questions of staff? Okay. Do we have we received any written communications?
We have not received written communication.
Thanks. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Brett Furtick, and I'm the owner of 2010 Greenleaf Street. And I just want to thank you for considering this home for the Mills Act in the Historic Register. I've only lived in the home for 2 years, but my family history in Santa Ana goes back to when my great-great-grandparents came here in 1877. And we pretty much have lived in Tustin or Santa Ana since that time. And I was actually born at Santa Ana Community Hospital. So there's a real tie here in Santa Ana.
Great, thank you.
Oh, one
Yes.
last thing. I wanted to make sure that we thank Pedro for all his work. He made the process very smooth, easy, was very communicative throughout the whole process.
Thanks. Does the commission have any questions or
I-
comments for the
I
applicant?
do. Okay, I'm always curious, what brought you back?
I ended up selling my house in Tustin because of the location. It had kind of changed. It was the old family house. And I was looking, and I love Floral Park. I love historic buildings and structures. And it's good to be back.
And this is a great replica of the Tudor revival, and the landscaping and all of it. It is a very well kept and deserving to be on our this property on our historic register, because it is a great example of a Tudor revival on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Do we have any more questions? I just had one comment. You know, I was doing a little bit of research and I typed in that address in newspapers.com, and I was interested that Frank Greenleaf lived at 2010 Greenleaf Street. And I was just curious if that was his property before it was all subdivided. And so I'm going to be doing a little more research on that. Because he had a lot of clippings in the newspaper about selling horses and chickens and eggs. So it seemed like he owned a farm or something. And that was where it was about the 1911, 1912. It was all the way from 1908 to 1912. And then in 1920 is when I saw that street really got repaved, and the city put out proposals for redoing that street. And it looked like maybe it was subdivided at that time. So it was just fascinating that maybe Frank Greenleaf lived at that address, not that house, obviously, because it wasn't there, but that address. That's just a comment. Okay. Let's see. Next, we would now take comments from the public. Secretary, do you have any comment? Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. As a reminder, each speaker has 3 minutes to speak. I will wait a few seconds. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay. The public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Is Commissioner Pena Sarmiento still online? Okay, good. All right, just making sure.
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Just don't want it to miss anything. Okay, finally, is there a motion to approve the matter?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt a resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-1 and Historic Register Categorization number 2022-1. Number 2, recommend that the City Council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Brent A. Privet Okay, thank you. Subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and the city clerk, attorney, I'm sorry.
Great. Do we have a second?
Vice Chair, before you
Yes.
take the second, I did want to clarify that the HRC number should be HRC 2022-2. I think as it was read as 2022-1.
And that's the way it was in the
It's on
meeting
our- On
agenda.
our thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Thank you for
Perfect.
that clarification.
Thank
There we go.
you. We'll clarify that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second.
Great, thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Christie and a second by Commissioner Lee. Secretary, can you please call roll? Vote.
Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Shipp? Commissioner Peña Sarmiento?
Yes.
Commissioner Lay?
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin? Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush? Motion approved by majority with Commission members Shipp and Commission members McLaughlin absent, and Carpenter, and Chair Rush.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Mr. Burdick.
Congratulations.
All right, this is the time and place to consider item number 2, Historic Resources Commission application number 2021-27, Historic Register Categorization number 2022-1, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-2 for the property located at 2308 North Santiago Street. Please note, decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendation on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item?
Chair Marashi, I visited the property
Thank you.
and did not speak to any of the applicants.
Any other commissioners? I will also disclose that I visited with the owner of the property today. Okay. Staff Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you again, Vice Chair. The second item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property address as 2308 North Santiago Street on the register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The E.H. Richards House is architecturally significant as a representative example of the minimal traditional style in Santa Ana. It was built in 1948 by local developer and builder Floyd Rogers. The E.H. Richards House is eligible for the Santa Ana Register under Criterion 1 as a representative example of the minimal traditional style. Additionally, the house has been categorized as contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of Park Santiago, and is a representative example of the minimal traditional architecture. Character defining features exhibited by this property include its massing and composition, the side gabled body with projecting hip roof, the stucco exterior, the multi-light windows that meet at the corners that are reminiscent of an art modern style, the lacy wrought iron entry porch supports, the prominent brick chimney, and the wooden ledge below the southeast corner windows. With that, staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2021-7, HRC 2022-1, and recommend that the city council authorize HPPA 2022-2. That concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer questions about this property.
Does the commission have any questions of staff?
I do. Okay. Pedro, in going out there, this home, I can see why it applied for the Mill Act. It really needs a lot of repairs. From the sideline of the roof, windows, the shutters, and the window sills around there. I'd like to know, you spoke to the applicant. What were their plans as far as the repairs and what timeline for us, please?
I thank you, Commissioner. I don't have the specific timelines in front of me, but you are correct. This is an example of a property that's in a little bit of disrepair. And as you mentioned, the homeowner would like the opportunity to be considered for the register and be considered for Mills Act in order to contribute some of the property tax savings back onto the property. From what staff experienced at the property, the stucco was in bad shape. So that's something that the property owner has identified as needing repairs. The windows, I don't recall if they're operational, but they're certainly something that either could be refreshed, repaired, or possibly modified depending on how deteriorated they are. I believe one of the newer changes might have been the roof. So that could have been something that maybe not need to change immediately. But certainly if there's any sort of need for it. But I think to answer your question, there's a lot going on that we would need to kind of make sure that the owner's following through with the Mills Act agreement in order to kind of bring the home back to its former glory.
Did the applicant, when you spoke, when are these repairs planned for?
The Mills Act agreement application that we have has an item, a section identified where they would list what improvements they're doing and how long into the Mills Act agreement they're going to do it. The Mills Act agreement is good for 10 years and then it's a revolving 1 year after that. So right now we don't have as robust of a maintenance plan as we intend to in the future. So if within the first 10 years, the improvements haven't been made, usually they end up revolving with that 1 year, and then those are something that the homeowner can do after the 10-year agreement. But as far as I know, there's every intention to do that within the first 5 years of the agreement. I think we'd be happy to kind of answer or ask the applicant a little bit more clearly to see when she intends to do those changes.
Right, because this is the first time I've been a commissioner for how long now and so forth that it really, our property is coming on, but however, it is really need repairs. And so I'll wait to hear what the applicant has to say. Okay.
Do we have any more questions for staff? Okay. Have we received any written communications?
We have not received written communication.
This public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter? Please come forward.
Vice Chair, if I may take a moment
Yes.
to recognize that our Commissioner McLaughlin arrived and has joined us at 4:58.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you for this privilege of being here to discuss my home that I truly love. And I realize it needs some loving care. I bought this home about 10, 11 years ago. And I have just thoroughly enjoyed living here. I teach in Santa Ana. I teach high school, English as a second language, and language arts. And my son attended school here in Santa Ana. I feel very much connected to my community. And I certainly do intend to do the repairs that need to be done as soon as I possibly can. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do actually. Were you inspired by Michelle across the street to apply for being put on the register?
Actually, I was. I don't know Michelle personally. However, her home is beautiful. And I knew the former owners. And when I saw that, she said, Jara, you should just go for it. And other people said, just go for it, because you certainly have a lovely home and courage to decide how I'm going to go about fixing it in each year.
Great, thanks. Does the commission have any questions or comments for the applicant?
Okay. I'm really stumped here. What was your anticipated time to start on the improvements?
Well, I'm looking at
And
this.
I'm sorry, one more. Where would you start?
I think I would start with my windows. I have beautiful windows that screw out, at least 2 in the front. And they're, of course, wooden windows. And I think I would start with the windows. I've already had a roof put on approximately 3 years ago. And after that, painting, restuccoing my home and painting. Also, replacing a door, exterior door in the front, and just looking at what else needs to be done. The awnings, not the awnings, but the trim around my home. So there is quite a bit that needs to be done. However, I'm sure that homes that come before you, there are some that are not necessarily in pristine order, but I am very much interested in bringing my home much more beauty, because it is indeed a very wonderful home.
Thank you.
Do any of the other commissioners have questions or comments for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you so much.
We'll now take comments from the public. Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Vice Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this matter?
Yes, Commissioner Marashi, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving Historic Resources Commission application 2021-27 and Historic Register Categorization number 2022, and recommend that the City Council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Geraldine Humphrey, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I think she also has to do the HEPA. This one. This one here. You have to approve it. Add that to authorize. Yeah. Authorize. PP.
I think
And to authorize HPP number 2022-2, is that correct? No, that's not the right one.
Yeah. Yep. HEPA. Authorize the HEPA.
Okay. Is that correct?
Right on the front, 2022-2, correct.
I'm
The
at a
HEPA
loss.
number correct?
That number is correct. I do want to apologize and clarify that on the screen, the 2 is missing of the 2021-27, but the as you read it, Commissioner, that's correct. But the HIPAA number is correct, 2022-2.
All right. HUPA number 2022-2.
Thank you. Do I have here a second?
I go second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hardy and a second by Commissioner Lee. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner Ship, Commissioner Peña-Sarmiento,
Yes.
Commissioner Lay,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Yes.
Chair Rush. Motion approved by majority with Commissioners Carpenter, Commissioner Ship, and Chair Rush absent.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mrs. Humphrey.
Look forward to the improvements, okay? Peter. We'll follow through, right? We'll follow.
This is the time and place to consider item number 3, Historic Resources Commission application number 2022-4, Historic Register categorization number 2022-4, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-8 for the property located at 2116 North Ross Street. Please note, decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendations on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for a final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item?
I do. I visited the home, but I did not speak to any of the occupants.
Anybody else? Okay. I want to also disclose that I visited the property and I spoke to Mrs. Romaine. Okay, staff Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Oh,
Before
okay.
we begin the staff presentation, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our new planner, Andrea Haywood. Andrea is part of our effort in terms of continuous improvement and enhancement to the Historic Resources division of our planning section. She recently joined us from the city of Claremont. She is a qualified architectural historian with professional planning, experience in planning, affordable housing, but more importantly in historic preservation as well as CEQA consulting. As I mentioned, she was a associate planner with the city of Claremont prior to joining us. She was also with the firm ICF in San Francisco. Her education include Bachelor in English with a Sustainable Design minor from UC Berkeley, a Master in Heritage Conservation from USC. Andrea will be working very closely with Pedro Gomez, Senior Planner in charge of historic preservation. Her hobbies include cooking, yoga, photography, hanging out with her cat, and tending to her houseplants. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Good evening. Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. It's really nice to be here and in person and meet you all. And I look forward to working closely with you. And just a full disclosure, I'm actually going on maternity leave starting Monday. So I'll be back later in the year, but thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to the city. I think it's going to be great having you.
Okay. I can begin.
Yes, please.
Okay. This item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property addressed at 2116 North Ross Street on the Santa Ana Register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owner. The Bessie Kotler House is a Tudor Revival style house constructed in 1929. The architect and builder are unknown as the original building permit was not located. The house qualifies for listing in the Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties under Criterion 1 as an example of Tudor revival style in Santa Ana. Additionally, the house has been categorized as contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of the Floral Park neighborhood and is a representative example of Tudor revival architecture. Character defining features of the house include its massing and composition, consisting of a side gabled body with a projecting front gable mid facade, arched entry occupied by the original front door and living room window contained within the front gable projection, uneven rakes on the fairly steep pitched front gable, stucco exterior, and multi-light casement windows. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-4 and HRC 2022-4 and recommend City Council authorize HPPA 2022-8. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions of staff? Okay, hearing none. Have we received any written communications?
We have not received written communication.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity. This is the very first home my husband and I have ever purchased. We've been living in this home since 1996, so 26 years. And at the time, we were originally looking in Long Beach because we both are designers and we both love, vintage classic architecture. And we were just really disappointed in Long Beach's zoning, where apartments are next to homes, and it just didn't feel like a neighborhood to raise a family. So when we discovered Santa Ana, we were hooked like immediately. So thankfully at the time, it wasn't as difficult to purchase, a home. And we fell in love with the neighborhood and our home, and just got really lucky, I think, that it was in such good original condition. And what I love so much about the neighborhood and our home is just being allowed to be creative with decorating and painting and landscaping and just living there and seeing all the creative design that can be done with such beautiful architecture just is like extremely special. And we really appreciate it. And just a little funny aside, not having a homeowners association and being so free, I never realized that my limitations would come from my husband because I've always loved drought tolerant landscaping and plants and cactus and succulents. And he said, no way. Are you planting that in our Tudor home? It just won't look good. So I decided I was going to plant in a English garden style with my drought tolerant plants. So that's my claim to fame with my home. So anyway, thank you again for this opportunity, and I hope we get it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the commission have any comments or questions of the applicant?
I do. I agree with your husband. Much better than drought resistant, because I'm sure, knowing Floral Park, if you put one cactus out in front of that Tudor, you would have the whole community out because it would take away drastically. So thank you for listening to your husband.
Are there any more comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. We will now take comments from the public. Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Vice Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this matter?
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt resolution to approve HRCA number 2022-4 and HRC 2022-4 and recommend the city council authorize HPPA number 2022-8.
Great. Is there a second?
Oh, hold on. The Mills Act agreement. This is a Mills Act. It's not on there. So of the
Yes.
Mills Act agreement.
I don't have that in front of me, so.
Okay.
Can I add that?
Yeah, you can add it.
Okay, great.
Friendly amendment.
Recommend that the city council authorize the city manager and the clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Ronald R. and Robin L. Romaine, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney. Do I
I'll
hear a
second that.
second? Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Commissioner McLaughlin and a second by Commissioner Christie. Secretary, would you please call roll, the roll vote?
Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship? Commissioner Peña Sarmiento? Commissioner Lay?
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush. Motion approved by majority with commission members Carpenter, Christie, Commissioner Ship, Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Ship, and Chair Rush absent.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Peña Sarmiento abstaining.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Just under the wire. All right, congratulations. This is the time and place to consider item number 4, Historic Resources Commission application number 2022-7, Historic Register Categorization number 2022-5, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-9 for the property located at 2315 North Flower Street. Please note, decisions on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendations on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item?
I do. I visited the property, but did not speak to any of the applicants.
Are there any others? I would also like to disclose I visited the home, but the property owner was not present. Okay, staff Pedro, I'm sorry. Sorry. Staff Andrea Hayward, would you please give a presentation?
Thank you. The next property for listing and Mills Act consideration is the Hallisey House located at 2315 North Flower Street within the Floral Park neighborhood. Constructed in 1938, the Hallisey House is architecturally significant as a characteristic example of the minimal traditional style. The house was built by Santa Ana builder J.R. Sandstrom. It qualifies for listing on the register under Criterion 1 as an example of the minimal traditional style in Santa Ana. In addition, the house has been categorized as contributive because it contributes to the overall character and history of the Floral Park neighborhood and is a representative example of the minimal traditional architecture. Character defining features of the house include massing and composition, consisting of a hipped roof, body, and projecting wing, stucco exterior, multi-light windows that meet at the corners in Santa Ana, which are reminiscent of the Art Moderne style. Other Art Moderne inspired features include the entry with its curved canopy and porthole window. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-7 and HRC 2022-5 and recommend city council authorize HPPA 2022-9. This concludes staff's presentation and open for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions of staff?
I do. Okay, go back to the home, please. And once again, thanks whoever's taking the pictures of the homes. Really standing out there so we can see. Okay. This home too, for those who did not visit the property, they really need repairs. And I can see why they wanted the Mills Act to come in with the taxes and so forth. From the window sills, the roof line, if you see line there, you definitely see that it does need fixing over there. The shutters, the windows around all of this, and that the back gate back there. And it's the black shutters are okay. They're in good conditions, but you go around and once again, you have where it's either exposure or something. So that really needs repair on this. And that, you know, we don't have that many minimal traditional homes on our register and so forth. Is that correct? In the area, Ed, is that correct? Am I correct? And so forth. And to think about this and getting this up where it would be a star in that neighborhood, just like the previous one in the previous app. Once they get that up, that's going to be a star in the neighborhood area. But once again, I hope staff, if this is approved, will take, you know, come in and monitor. And when the applicant, I hope that the applicant will give us a timeline if they're there, if they're here, as to when they, you know, where they're going to be starting and how long do they anticipate the repairs to be. That's my comment.
Are there any more comments or questions of the staff? Hearing none. Have we received any written communications?
We have not received written communications.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Megan Palmer. Wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about our experience with the Hallisey House. So my husband and I and our then one child, now two, purchased the house about a year ago. So we moved into the property in last February. One thing that attracted us so much to this area was not only the historic house, but we'd seen historic houses in a few of the other communities when we were looking to purchase. And I just love the Floral Park neighborhood. We're really enjoying getting to know all of our neighbors, participating in the community events. We just got done volunteering with the historic home tour, which I think was really special. So it's been a great, welcome first year. It's been nice having what I hear, having all the community activities coming back, which has been really nice too. And then going through this process with learning about the history of our home has been really interesting. So I'm learning, and I think this was probably in the write-up report, but not spoken to this evening, but Florence Hallisey actually lived in the house for over 50 years. So she lived in the house until her death in 1992. So I think it's really special that this was such a treasured home for someone for so long, and that we get to be a part of that now recent history for the house. Speaking to Commissioner Christie's question, I'll say the first point is probably obvious that moving into the home a year ago, especially with these historic homes, it takes a lot of craftsman care to get things to where they glimmer again. So we've been on a 6-month wait list with the window restoration and repair company, and they're coming next week. So I'm very excited. We're excited to get our windows work done and have a subsequent reservation with our exterior painter for the month after that. So we're, as much as you, we're excited to get the house back in good repair and kind of see it come to life again. So if you have any questions.
Where did you come from? What brought you?
My husband and I originally are from Idaho, and we moved here about 9 years ago. So when we graduated college, employment opportunities offered us a nice opportunity to move to Southern California.
From what city?
Boise, Idaho is
No. What city here?
Oh, we were living in Costa Mesa before.
Oh,
we were
we
renting
love
in
stealing
Costa Mesa.
people from Costa Mesa. We just love that.
Yeah, there's a great sense of community. So we're happy to raise our family in Floral Park.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the applicant? Okay. We now take comments from the public. Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Vice Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this matter? I'll make the motion then. Okay, let's see. I recommend that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA number 2022-7 and HRC 2022-5 and recommend the city council authorize HPPA number 20229.
Mr. Chair, the HIPAA number to authorize the city council for the
Yes.
HPPA number.
Yes.
To include that in your motion?
I just did.
No.
And recommend.
I'm sorry, not that.
I know
but
I'm
to
going on.
recommend
I haven't
The
finished.
Mills Act. I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
Yes. Recommend the city council authorize the city manager and the clerk of the council to execute the attached Mills Act agreement with Jeffrey A. Palmer and Megan C. Palmer, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
Second.
We have a second. So I have made the motion. Commissioner McLaughlin seconded. Secretary, would you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner Shipp, Commissioner Peña Sarmiento.
Sorry,
Commissioner Lay,
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Lay,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Vice Chair Marachi,
Yes.
Chair Rush.
Excellent. Yep.
Motion approved by majority with Commissioners Carpenter, Commissioner Shipp, and Chair Rush absent.
Thank you. Congratulations. This is the time and place to consider item number 5. Historic Resources Commission application number 2022-5, Historic Register Categorization number 2022-3, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2022-7 for this property located at 2302 North Heliotrope Drive. Please note, decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 calendar days. Recommendations on this matter will be forwarded to the City Council for final determination. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regards to this item?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
once again, I visited the property but had no communication with the owners.
All right, anybody else? Okay, I would like to disclose, I did talk to the owner today and visited the home. All right. Staff Andrea Hayward will now provide a brief presentation.
The next item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property addressed as 2302 North Heliotrope Drive, located within the Floral Park neighborhood on the local historic register, and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owners. The W. Woods-Eller Brook house was built in 1955 and is a representative example of the ranch style in Santa Ana. The house was designed by highly regarded architect Filmer J. Ellerbrook, who designed residences, schools, apartments, commercial buildings, and institutional facilities throughout Southern California, and whose work was photographed by Julius Schulman and Maynard L. Parker. The house qualifies for listing on the register under Criterion 1 for embodiment of the distinguishing characteristics of the ranch house style. Additionally, the house has been categorized as landmark for its unique architectural significance as a good example of the ranch style and as the work of a prominent and respected South Coast architect, Fillmore J. Ellerbrook. The character defining features that should be preserved include its one-story horizontal massing, low-pitched overhanging hipped roof with exposed rafters, blend of rustic materials, including the wood and brick, and extensive use of windows to blur the separation between indoors and out. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2022-5 and HRC 2022-3 and recommend City Council authorize HPPA 2022-7. This concludes staff's presentation and I open for any questions.
Does the commission have any questions of staff?
I don't have any questions, but you left out some important information on the architect that number one, he designed homes for Art Linkletter, Ray Milan. Okay, other works that he's done, archives in the Getty Museum. I mean, well known throughout Newport Beach, Huntington Museum and Library. I mean, well, and once again, on this, when you walk on that property or walk up to that property and it's on a corner, you just go, oh my goodness. It is truly. You weren't going to code this as landmark. I was going to say, men, what's wrong with you? You know, and so forth. Not only is it architecturally well built, I mean, this thing was built in what?
1955.
1955 and still look this good. Okay. Well kept. No, back to the house. Okay. Well kept, no matter where you walk around the block. And I guess the property in the back is theirs too, right? On this, from the side in the back, this little house.
Are you referring to the garage?
Is that the garage?
There's a
back there?
garage with the living space above.
Right,
Mhm.
on that, that's all. I mean, it is magnificent. I mean, truly magnificent. And, you know, landmark is our highest categorization that we could ever give to a property. And I tell you, this is one we should be applauding. And I'm sorry the owners aren't here, but once again, this is magnificent. It's well kept and well preserved.
Are there any more questions of staff? Hearing none, have we received any written communications?
We have not received written communication.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter? Last I
Yes.
heard, be on Zoom.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, that's the applicant. Is that-
Yes. Can you
Go
guys
ahead.
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. And I didn't catch your name for all the attributes and the great words about the home. We missed you. I think I saw you on our Ring camera the day before, and we were not able to get to the door. So I apologize for missing if that was you.
Yeah.
Okay, I wish I would have loved to meet you and talk to you about this house. So my wife and I, with the unique situation here is my wife's grandparents built the house on, I believe, 2435 Victoria, Herb and Hazel Stroshine. And my wife used to come to Floral Park for Easter egg hunts and Christmas and several different events. And she learned about Floral Park way back when. And we are transplants from the Costa Mesa area. Our kids attended Mater Dei High School. And although they're really upset with us that we finally moved into this area, they were much closer here to Mater Dei than when we used to have to commute. But we picked this area for a number of reasons, just from the historic memories that my wife had, and the coveted neighborhood of Floral Park. It's such a sweet pocket of not only eclectic and historic homes, but also just amazing people. The diversity and the eclecticness of all of that has just been so welcoming. We bought this home approximately 2 years ago, and our intention is to maintain the integrity of the outside. We do have somebody that's coming out next week to repair and restore the double hang windows that we have to make them more efficient. And just to add a little bit of what you were saying about the famous architect, he was actually the president of the American Institute of Architects in 1952. So well known that we're so excited to be here now and keep the preservation of this home and look to stay in this home. It's just my wife and I. We have a couple of our younger sons that live with us as they're transitioning, but they're older now, and we look forward to staying here till we're finished. So we're super excited about it and look forward to this opportunity to maintain the integrity of the home. And we're excited and thankful to the committee and the vice chair for this opportunity.
Chair Mareshi.
Yes.
On this, I just want to say, Mr. Reinhardt, I'm Commissioner Christie. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. About your chip, I was an empty nester, but they do come back. Don't worry about that. You may not be long. They do have a habit of coming back.
That's true. I hear you. Very true.
Does the commission have any questions or comments for the applicant? Hearing none, we'll now take comments from the public. Secretary, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment?
If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Vice Chair, we do not have any speakers.
The public hearing is now closed. Does the commission have any final questions of staff? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this matter?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay. I move that we adopt a resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application number 2022-5 and Historic Register categorization number 2022-3, and recommend the City Council authorize HPPA number 2022-7. And 2, recommend that the City Council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached meals act agreement with Ernest R. Reinhardt and Sydney Reinhardt, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Christie and a second by Commissioner McLaughlin. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Christie,
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner Shipp, Commissioner Peña Sarmiento,
Yes.
Commissioner Lay,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Aye.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Yes.
Chair Rush. Motion approved by majority with Commission members Carpenter, Commission member Shipp, and Chair Rush absent.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This concludes the public hearings and business calendar. Now moving on to the work study calendar. The first item on the work study calendar is the South Main History Walk presentation. Please note, no action will be taken on this item. Before we begin, have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have not received written communication. If you are attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you are calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial *9 and press *6 to unmute yourself. I will wait a few seconds. Vice Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. Commissioners Hardy and Peña Sarmiento will now provide a presentation on the South Main History Walk presentation.
Vice Chair, I wanted to take a second to just remind the commission that this is a continued item, if you will, from the March 3rd Historic Resources Commission meeting. Because Commissioner Peña Sarmiento is not with us today in person, she did provide a video for us to play. After the video, we will go through the presentation that the ad hoc committee put together, which includes Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Hardy, and then, of course, Commissioner Peña Sarmiento. So the next slide would be the video.
Who cares?
One second here. I hope there's no feedback if I do this.
Hardy and Commissioner Carpenter, I'm reporting that our North Subcommittee. Current renovations
Black Derby nightclub. And our own South Main State.
Commissioner Skibbs. Thank you for your patience, commissioners. We're trying to figure out the audio to make sure that the audience can also hear what it is that you're hearing.
If I may suggest, maybe we can have a recess for 5 minutes and then resume the meeting in 5 minutes.
Certainly. Thank you.
We can get a motion to recess the meeting.
I move to be recessed 5 minutes.
Do we have a second? Great. Motion approved to adjourn for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
We're enjoying ourselves. Yeah, it's been a while since we lived in Idaho.
Thank you so much.
But that's going to give you a cable like this. Audio.
Hi, it's Commissioner Sandra Peñas. And along with my fellow
Yeah.
That was the house I had tested.
Let me put this. Give me a second.
I don't know.
Connected to mobile device. Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Carpenter, I'm reporting back on the South Main History Corridor Subcommittee. The current renovations happening all along South Main are a great opportunity to celebrate South Main history through the built environment. The idea is to create a history walk for both residents and visitors to enjoy. Now, what is a history?
I can hear it here, but we just need to turn it up just a little bit.
History walk. It's a series of 18 markers located at our 18th
I can hear it through the speaker if we just turn it up a little bit. It is, but down there in on the computer, it's not. The computer, it's not though. If he turns it up on the computer, I think that might help. That's true. And this is all the way up.
South Main bus stops. These can highlight the buildings, businesses, and cultural legacy all along South Main. Now, Celebrate South Main history through Halloween.
Yes, we can hear you, Ramon. Actually, I can only hear you through the Zoom laptop.
Now, what is a history walk? It's a series of 8.
Ready? Thank you, Vice Chair. We are ready to resume.
All right, let's resume and call the meeting back to order. Let's see the presentation for the history walk, the South Main Street History Walk, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We'll try this again.
Hi, it's Commissioner Sandra Peña Sarmiento. And along with my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Carpenter, I'm reporting back on the South Main History Corridor Subcommittee. The current renovations happening all along South Main are a great opportunity to celebrate South Main history through the built environment. The idea is to create a history walk for both residents and visitors to enjoy. Now, what is a history walk? It's a series of 18 markers located at our 18 South Main bus stops. These can highlight the buildings, businesses, and cultural legacy all along South Main. Now, these markers can take the form of a freestanding kiosk, or they could be a permanent plaque attached to the frame of the bus stops. They could also be the form of a vinyl wrap along perhaps the back panel of the bus stops, or even as simple as a QR code that is located some visible place along that bus stop shelter. Now, what kind of things would we showcase on this self-guided tour? As we did our research, we found that there is a wealth of wonderful historical moments to celebrate and showcase our community. Some of these include the Black Derby nightclub, once located on Chestnut in Maine, and the building is still standing and in great shape. It was one of Santa Ana's only unsegregated nightclubs in the 50s and 60s, and the place that gave birth to the Righteous Brothers and our own South Main soul sound. It was also the place where Betty Willis, an African-American performer from our community, also performed, and she actually signed with the Righteous Brothers later on in her life. South Main was also the place where Marlon Brando, international film star, went to school and spent many formative years. Brando mentions his time at Lathrop and in Santa Ana in his biographies and many interviews. It was an important time in his life that sparked his creative spirit. The old Southern California sugar factory was also located on South Main, just south of Warner. And it brought a lot of our current residents, ancestors, into the city. In fact, a lot of Delhi was settled and populated by the workers from the sugar industry. The old Southern California sugar factory that was on Main, and of course later the Holly sugar plant that was located by Warner and Grant. Also on the south end of Main is located the Rickenbacker Guitar Factory. And it provided guitars and musical instruments to some giants of rock and roll history, including the Beatles, the Who, Tom Petty, the Beach Boys, the Kinks, Rush, and so many others. Also located on South Main was America's first drag strip, started by Pappy Hart and his associates. The Santa Ana Drags was featured on Life magazine, on the cover of Life magazine in 1957. It sparked a national interest in drag racing, car culture, and also inspired a whole series of highly coveted miniature auto collectibles, all branded with the Santa Ana Drags on the bottom. And last but not least, our South Main is a part of our National Historic Highway Route system. So Route 101, which South Main is a part of, is a sister road to Route 66. So what a great opportunity for marketing and branding. Just as we see that Route 66 has such wonderful branding throughout, the traversing that route, we could also market our South Main in a similar way. Now, Commissioner Hardy has prepared this wonderful PDF PowerPoint presentation. which you should have in your packets to review. But as you can see, we have a lot to celebrate on South Main. We found more than enough to populate all of the historical markers with people, businesses, past and present, celebration and spotlights on architectural styles, notable residents, and every neighborhood association that we have presented this project at, which include Pacific Park, Henninger Park, and also Wilshire Square. We're very excited to participate and contribute to this endeavor. So it's a great way to really engage our residents in remembering some local history, and also to tie into our regional tourism. As you all know, we have a lot of folks going to Disney, flying in and out of John Wayne Airport. And what a great opportunity to tie our South Main, which is right on the way to the airport, to these tourists. After experiencing the fantasy Main Street at Disneyland, they have an opportunity to really visit and experience a real Southern California Main Street on our South Main corridor in Santa Ana. And these markers are a wonderful way to have them navigate the area, know where to go, where to shop, where to eat. And that's the way we can squeeze every last dollar of these tourists as they go and return their rental cars to John Wayne Airport. This is a perfect opportunity for Santa Ana to really position itself and leverage its assets in the best way. So I hope you all share my enthusiasm, and we're here and available for your questions. Thank you.
I'm going to give just a minute. There's a
disconnected.
Are we okay? Okay. Thank you again for Commissioner Peña-Sarmiento for putting that video together. At this point, I'm going to take the lead from ad hoc committee members, Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Peña-Sarmiento, as we go through their PowerPoint presentation. As I understand, Commissioner Peña-Sarmiento covered a lot of items on here, but there may be some items that Commissioner Hardy would like to address as well. So Commissioner Hardy, I'm at your disposal.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Sarmiento. That was excellent. This PowerPoint presentation has a lot of visuals meant for folks that aren't familiar with South Main Street and why we think it's important to start paying attention to what's there and have an opportunity to share the history and culture and boost pride for the neighborhoods and residents in the area and in the city. So this first slide kind of has some images that you'll find on South Main Street. The part of South Main Street we're talking about, there's 6 neighborhood associations, 3 on the west and 3 on the east. And you'll see at one time the main photo service, the main photo building, the exaggerated awning architecture. You'll see in this slide a corner commercial building. You see St. Anne's Church. You'll see a bungalow in this image. You'll see part of what's remaining of the sugar factory. And you'll see one of the motor court motels. And you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a craftsman bungalow that has some elegant remaining architectural features that has been very creatively, the front porch area, it's now mixed use. Historically, it's been like that for many, many years. You'll see a commercial building attached to where the front porch is. And this is not unique. There are many of these bungalows with where the front porches have been converted and there's like a commercial building out front and resident, and the bungalow is still evident. So, all right, we can go to the next slide. So these are just some posters. Commissioner Sarmiento and I, we went on a little campaign to educate about saving South Main Street. And we went back and forth and created these little posters. So you can go to the next slide. So a goal is to the enhancement of historic South Main Street Business District. And that's something that's needed. And also, one of the ways to do that are the interpretive wayfinding sanctions that Commissioner Sarmiento was talking about. And there's also perhaps an opportunity for an architectural survey. All right, next slide. And the methodology for is listed here to do at least a preliminary survey to discover what's there culturally, architecturally, built environment, history, etc. Next slide. And periods of architectural significance, we believe 20s to the 60s. We're not experts. We're just recognizing the fact that we believe there's importance here, and all that would take a little further investigation and expertise. Okay, next slide. The mid-20th century style has been recognized to be important, but it's easy to overlook it because it seems new still to us. But once we need to pay attention or it will be lost. And there's a whole list of reasons why it's important that can be looked at and investigated. Okay, next slide. Parking on South Main Street, we believe, is a plan design element that, because car culture was so important or so prevalent along South Main Street, that the car was planned for, and it was planned for in several different ways that are listed. It wasn't, there was they recognized a need for parking, and there's different elements where the car culture is evident that are listed. Okay, next slide. So we believe that there's a history, cars, stars, and guitars. So there's car culture, music culture, and some surf culture. All right. And I wanted to mention that not only Marlon Brando, but Diane Keaton, there's a Diane Keaton Lane adjacent to Santa Ana High School. So we do have some stars that spend some time on South Main Street. Okay, next slide. So the goal is to, however the South Main Street History Walk comes about, that each neighborhood will have equal opportunity to shine. Each neighborhood is unique in architecture, culture, businesses that are on South Main Street, they kind of change. And so they all have something important to contribute of interest. Okay, next slide. We would like to build a consensus. It's too bad everybody already left, because we really want people to pay attention and realize that South Main Street is special before we lose it, and it's dramatically visually changed. Some of us believe we'll really be losing out. And all right, next slide. So here's a list of what, how, and why a history walk. Next slide. Stanchions, these are, this is a stanchion this is a stanchion that came from the history walk in LA's Chinatown. And it's superimposed on the storefront of Original Mike's with that disgusting blue tile that doesn't belong there. But anyway, and then superimposed on the actual stanchion is information how it might look. It's sort of copied from what it looks like in LA Chinatown. And of course, the QR code would be within that graphic, but it doesn't, nothing really has to look that way at all. So next slide. And then here's just some sample ideas about, I used Hedinger Park as an example because I'm familiar, and you can see all those bubbles. Those are all really historically important and relevant and exciting if people knew about all those things that are in the bubbles. And then next slide. And then it talks about the QR codes. And next slide. And here's an area map of the part of South Main Street we're talking about, and some of the attributes that include culture and architecture and businesses, and places to go and places to be. All right, next slide. And neighborhoods. And we believe that it could make an impact on economic development for the whole city, which is something very exciting. And we also have looked at Cars Land in Disneyland, and actually the whole history of Cars Land was just somebody, an individual, which I don't know his name, but we can find his name, who decided that he was very excited about cars and a culture about signage, and pitched the idea to Disney, and they got excited about it, and that's why there's Cars Land. Well, a lot of these elements that have been exaggerated in Cars Land in Disneyland are already existing on South Main Street if we just paid attention and brought some enthusiasm and preservation to the area. Okay, next slide. Conclusion. Who doesn't want to celebrate their place in their city? And there's a lot of opportunities to do that, and they're listed. And there's some examples of some of the exaggerated architecture that exists on South Main Street that Cars Land's just kind of like grasping at straws to recreate. So next slide. And then there's a whole list of resources that would be required to actually build on this idea that's being pitched, and those are listed. Next slide. That's it, I guess.
That might be it.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you for
Commissioner.
your time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardy. You did a great job.
Thank you, Commissioner Sarmiento.
Thank you to both Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Peña Sarmiento. I think the hope and goal for the work study today was to gather some initial comments and feedback from the rest of the commission on the progress that both the ad hoc committee and staff has made. And just as a reminder, the ad hoc committee has met with staff a couple of times leading up to this meeting. And the intention would be to gather the information, comments, recommendations from the commission, formulate a formal, I guess, proposal, if you will, to present to the city council for consideration. There's already improvements going on along South Main, and the goal is to kind of find funding opportunities from our public works colleagues to find monies to make these stanchions possible, whether it's in the form that was presented today or in a different form. But again, the goal today is to hear back from the commission and see kind of if we can provide more feedback, give direction to the ad hoc, and maybe see what we can kind of formulate for South Main.
Thank you, Pedro. And to add on to what Pedro has discussed, one of our vision for this process, as you may know, is that while this is outside of the normal scope of the Historic Resources Commission on your activities in terms of designation, approving, Mills Act agreement and recommending it to City Council, we thought that this project was really an exciting project to help us highlight some of the designation that has already been done throughout the city, especially along South Main Street. There are a number already historically designated structure. But what this would do is that hopefully blossom into a greater project where we can have historic walks or points of interest citywide, so that visitor coming to our city can have access to information, can follow a route map, can look at an interactive map to find out information about the various historic structures in our city. As part of the overall vision is also to, as you know, we have 2 nationally designated historic districts in our city, but we also are potentially having one more coming up. But there are many other neighborhoods and districts that are also deserving of recognition. And through the general plan process, we have laid the framework for a locally designated process. And as Commissioner Sancho Peña Sarmiento and Commissioner Hardy discussed, one of the potential aspect of this process is to look at South Main as a district as well, in addition to just identifying some of these historic elements. So these historic elements, many of them are not necessarily designated locally, but I think they have some level of recognitions. Through the process that we have, we can create the district and help to highlight some of these as well. So it is an exciting project. It is something that we hope that you can contribute in terms of providing us feedback, and we will help formulate a program that can help be a foundation of this greater vision of highlighting historical districts, historical designated properties in our city for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the commission have any questions or comments for the staff or the ad hoc committee? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, once again, Sandra, congratulations.
Thank you.
It clapped for you. I don't know if you heard that. At the end of the presentation. Are they all difficult? Thank you. A round of applause for the presentation. I didn't know that. I mean, a lot of information that you highlighted. And when you drive, north on Main Street going into downtown, and you see this thing that says historic, Main Street, or what's over that? Down
Historic South Main Street.
Historic
Business
South.
District.
Okay, the business district is there, historic South Main Street. You go, okay, this needs to be widened to include, the elements. I mean, you're too young for this, but there was a television program called Route 66 with the Corvette, driving down there. And for us to be connected to that, with the 2 guys traveling Route 66 from one end to another, I sure that I can't remember that back, but anyway, I did not know as much as this presentation on South Main. There are a lot of people in Santa Ana that do not know, with the black hat. I didn't know that. On that, I was a good girl, so I wouldn't know about that. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, connection with Righteous Birth, Diane Keaton, Marlon Brando was his name in school?
He lived in Wilshire Square.
It was Brando. He kept in a stage.
Yes.
Yeah, Marlon Brando. I
It's in
mean,
Santa Ana High School yearbook.
oh my gosh, I tell you, I mean, that's important. And I love the way that you connected it, from John Wayne to Disneyland. You gotta pass through Santa Ana, okay, in there. And somehow we've got to market this so that, either they're going before they get to their Disneyland designation, or after they've been and they want to do something else before they get on the plane. We really need more of PR, a lot of PR on that. Not only, maybe putting a sign in John Wayne Airport once we get this formalized, but we got to do a lot to educate our own people. We really need to educate our own people of how historic significant this little city of Santa Ana is. I mean, the seat of Orange County, and the development. And with Main Street and the architectural design, didn't know we had a drag street. I know that when I moved to Santa Ana, where I'm currently in 1969, Walker and Lee representative took us roundabout, I didn't know we had Lupin's Dairy, at Edinger rate, okay? I thought it was a cart race thing, you race the small cart with all that hay. Didn't know they had cows. Didn't go that way at all. Didn't know it was a dairy until one night I heard cows mooing, and I'm going, is this house haunted or whatever? But anyway, we do have some, and we do need to promote this and capitalize on this, and and preserve this, preserve the design and so forth. So whatever we need to go a step forward, as far as formalizing something, whatever you need, I'm for it. Presentation to our city council. I'm sure they don't know as much information about South Main, as we had today, that's there. So kudos to you guys. Congratulations.
Are there any other commissioner comments or questions of the ad hoc?
Just want to quick add on. I appreciate today work study, learned a lot from you guys. Just to follow up at, creating a tourism for our historical attraction. You mentioned that a lot when I travel, where I go to Airbnb or at the airport, they will have a brochure with a QR code, something where they can just scan it and can take them to the location. So I just saying that creating this attraction and the tourist thing that we are combining, I think it's a very good idea that will bring more value to our city. And in return, that will get attraction and more traffic into our city. So thank you guys.
Anybody else? I wanted to comment on your comments, Commissioner Christie. I completely agree. I watched this presentation and I learned so many things, like part of the sugar beet factory is still there, things like that. I was amazed. The presentation and the video were well done. They were creative, they were colorful, they were informative. I think it was outstanding job, the whole committee. I'm just curious, the city manager has their little newsletter that they put out. Can we get them to maybe comment on what this ad hoc committee is up to? I don't know. It would, to get the word out there.
At this point, our goal with the ad hoc committee is to come up and with the concept, provide the initial information for the concept so that we as staff, we can start to help formulate a pilot project that could be recommended to the city council for funding. Hopefully that would be the seed of something that can grow bigger. So at this point, we feel that it's still a work in progress.
Sure.
And at some point, once we have the program complete with the information and however, we communicate that either through stanchions, physical monuments, or, through the internet, I think that would be the appropriate time at which time we can start to highlight and send out information to the public and advertising it. We're not quite there yet,
Right.
but keep that thought. Thank
Great.
you.
The other thing that I saw in the presentation, I think that's key to highlight, is you said there's 6 neighborhoods involved that are along that, and now it's their time to shine. And I just hope you really get those neighborhoods involved. I look forward to moving on with this project. So thank you again. Okay, second item on the work study calendar is a report of the work study session for March 3rd, the 2022 meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The commission may recall that on March 3rd, we presented the Historic Preservation Work Program, where we identified measures on our existing work program and accomplishments, the key staff initiatives, commission work program, and then follow-up session and next steps. The idea was to kind of capitalize on past, communications to the city council from the commission through the way of a memo to help them understand what the concerns are from the commissions and maybe get some changes going. And I think it was largely successful in some smaller ordinance changes. It was successful in changes to the bylaws to increase, for example, 4 meetings to 6 meetings a year. So we'd like to kind of continue that momentum. So tonight we're just going to summarize what we heard on March 3rd, and we'd still like to give the commission an opportunity to provide more information before we formalize a summary that we'd like to present to the commission. Mostly because on March 3rd, the meeting ran a little bit longer, so we wanted to make sure that the commission has plenty of time to let us know what we want to change. So what we heard on March 3rd was some of the commission wanted to expand our historic program reach to recognize and identify the importance of African-American history and the impacts in the city. There was mention of focusing on Little Texas and identifying what those boundaries are. Recommendations were to create a partnership with Santa Ana History Room and for the creation of digital archives. Some examples that were provided were Shades of Los Angeles, City of El Monte neighborhood archives. And this is all to commemorate the resident history. Additional partnerships could be created with the neighborhood associations to facilitate better community participation and engagement. For example, in our historic wards programs, or even just better educational opportunities. There was mention of creating a specific website or portal that connects the general public with various historic resources. For example, the resources that were mentioned were the Heritage Museum of Orange County, the Santa Ana Historic Preservation Society, and Preserve Orange County. So right now we have kind of a static website that's in transition that doesn't provide resources to the general community. So I think the idea was to kind of start branching off, not just what Santa Ana can provide, but what other agencies and organizations and nonprofits can provide to the general community. And then with that, website could highlight historic significance of the city in different parts of the neighborhoods. There was also a mention of the use of plaques, monuments, and or QR codes to help residents explore their own communities. Examples of that were, maps of significant murals or public art locations or significant points of history. There was also mention of presenting the city's history as a narrative at local parks. There are many many are located in significant communities, like Pacific Park was, I think, one example that was recently provided. Recently, the Planning Commission reviewed, I think, naming of a couple of names for a new park, one of which was El Refugio Park. So I know there's a large history with that as well. There is recommendations for continued exploratory and historic research for parts of South Main, of course. And then there was a strong interest to clarify the historic preservation award process. I think some of the commission felt that right now, either the community or the commission were unclear about how to move forward with recommending some of these properties for the awards, or weren't exactly sure what the criteria was. So some of the recommendations from the commission were to, one, look at how we qualify the structures, the different qualification criteria, have staff present on how to fill out applications, and explain on what structures can be nominated. So all of these were excellent ideas. I think the next couple of recommendations were specifically about the Historic Preservation Awards program. One of the commissioners identified that there's other communities that engage development communities the folks who actually provide proposals and develop in the community. And one of the examples was in onions and orchards, and I think it was in San Diego. And the idea was to start engaging them to kind of make them aware of the fact that there's all these historic neighborhoods and such abundance of historic properties, so they can start from the beginning of conception of development to, you know, have them recognize some of that as part of their development, or just make them part of the general community. There was a comment about establishing a strategy for the creation of local historic districts. That was something that we had mentioned as part of the March 3rd presentation to the commission. That is something that is identified in a general plan as well as an implementation measure through the efforts of Floral Park and their most recent national district nomination process. There's going to be more communities who have the interest to preserve their neighborhood fabric. So we want to make sure that we have the established process and criteria for those neighborhoods when they do approach us. And of course, the Mills Act program, there was mention about how to strategize on how to comply with state requirements for inspections every 5 years. With over 400 Mills Act properties, that can be a hard challenge to kind of inspect properties every 5 years. So there was a mention from the commissioner about sending out letters to the community, the folks who have Mills Act agreements, and then having them provide us with what they've done since they've been listed on the Mills Act. And so for those that we maybe haven't heard from, or those are complying with the Mills Act contractual agreements, then we can follow up with required inspections at that point. And I think that was it. So again, today we wanted to open it up to the commission to provide more information to us so we can continue to provide a comprehensive, I guess, memo. We would present it back in July and then hopefully get the direction from you to present to council.
Thank you, Pedro. I think you got everything.
I think so.
Thank you, Commissioner. But in all seriousness, that was a very detailed list. And we're just here to really take any additional comments. This is really, you know, did we hear it right? And let us know your feedback.
Does the commission have any questions or comments for staff?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner Peña Sarmiento.
Yes, I just wanted to emphasize with the, onions and orchids, reaching out to the development community. There is a lot of development, as you all know, really large scale market rate developments, low income developments, all business and commercial developments. A lot of development is coming to Santa Ana. It's already here. And they really have the deep pockets to really impact the look of our built environment, the visual branding of our city. So I think it's really, really important to create a packet emphasizing the importance of historical design considerations, so that as these big projects are envisioned, they do look to see how they can enhance the historic character of the neighborhoods where they will be located. Otherwise, they're just going to do something very basic, very bland, beige, could be in any city in the world, kind of a Irvinification kind of a thing. And we don't need that in such a historic city. We're the second most historic city in the entire county, with the concentration of historic buildings second only to San Juan Capistrano. So and if you go to San Juan Capistrano, you see how even their new developments, their market rate, their commercial, and their affordable all reflects that mission architecture branding that they push in that city. We need to get a hold of that, some kind of a strategy. Otherwise, it's just going to get away from us, because as you all know, the design of these major projects happens very, very early, before they even apply for permits. So, so they're envisioning. So it's important that all of the developers that work with the city are aware that we have an award for quality development and development that reflects our historical heritage. So that communication is very important. It's great to have an incentive like onions and orchids in San Diego. And similarly, on the other end, on the civic development part, we are developing a lot of parks. We have at least 5 parks that are in play right now. I know there's one over on McFadden and Standard. You've got the new one over on Myrtle and Rate. You know, there's at least half a dozen parks. Again, each one is an opportunity to put in, you know, murals, 3-dimensional statues, some kind of informational tie-in, so everybody that goes to that park knows, hey, I can learn something from here. I can take pride in the historical legacy of my community, and I have a place to tie in that is greater than my own self. I have something to aspire to and to be inspired by. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hardy?
Yes, I just had a comment about being, that was great. Sandra's on fire. Sorry. Oh, yes, about the awards. I don't know if you included the who can nominate. Who can nominate? I think that's an important thing we need to talk about also. And who can nominate, more specifically, commissioners, what commissioners can nominate. And, you know, like, because when there's an ad hoc committee, it's my understanding those ad hoc committee members, HRC, cannot nominate, but other commissioners can. I don't know if I'm correct or not, but we need to really break it down so we know exactly who can nominate also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions, Commissioner McLaughlin or Commissioner Law?
Just a quick one. I mean, I'm coming back to the financial aspect of this, and you were talking about, you know, when they go on to Mills Act, they would, you know, you track the financial impacts of what they had done since they went on Mills Act. I still submit to the fact that there are a lot of homes that people spend a tremendous amount of money fixing up to make them, to bring them back in some cases to historic levels and everything else. And we neglect that number. And it's not a small number. I mean, in many cases, you know, well, Ed spent a chunk of money to bring his house back to where it was acceptable from a Mills Act perspective and historic registry. And there's a lot of history built into his house. And the same goes for many neighbors in Floral Park, West Floral Park, and such. And I think we need to, you know, it's a maybe an asterisk type situation, but it needs to be identified as to what the homeowner put into that property before they got on the Mills Act, as well as track what's happened since they got on the Mills Act. You know, in my book, it's 2 simple numbers, and I think we have to take that into consideration when we take into, you know, how do we work this process as a process total?
Thank you. Commissioner Lay? We are, and that was part of it.
I just want to ask some few quick point. At for the reward one, you know, we have you know, think about a way so the resident you know, around the area have a say in it. You know, it's like, you know, like a pupil choice award kind of thing. To give them that option where they feel, you know, they can participate, you know, on this journey with, you know, the city and all that too. And then you know, is there a way to incentivize the historic district where they can host some kind of like neighborhood? Like I went to the Tussin Meltdown, right? Every July 4th, they will have a parade, you know, and then, you know, throughout the neighborhood, and then everyone kind of will come in, you know, take the family and kid and, you know, celebrate July 4th there. And then throughout the year, they will have events, you know, in that neighborhood. So I'm thinking if we have a historic district, you know, can we have some kind of way to, you know, help them, you know, start something like that, you know, parade, festival, you know, something like that, just kind of create more activity for family and kids. Yeah.
Thank you. Before we head off to the staff comments, I'd like to circle back to the consent calendar and get a vote on item B, excused absences. Does anybody make the motion to excuse the absences?
And commissionership. Thank you. That's okay.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Great.
Second.
So we have a motion to excuse absences by Commissioner Christie and a second by Commissioner McLaughlin. Secretary, would you call please for a roll call vote?
Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship? Commissioner Peña Sarmiento?
Yes.
Commissioner Lay?
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Vice Chair Mersch?
Yes.
Chair Rush? Motion approved by majority with Commissioner members Carpenter, Ship, and Chair Rush absent.
Great. Thank you.
Vice Chair, if I may, I just would ask that the commission re-vote on the approval of the minutes. I did want to draw your attention to the fact that any commissioner not present on March 3rd cannot vote on the minutes.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's go back to the consent calendar, item A, and re-vote on that. That is the meeting minutes from March 3rd, 2022. And as you just heard, you can only vote on it if you've been at the meeting. Yes. Yes, we're going to do that. Okay. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So can we call for a roll vote, please?
Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Christie?
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship? Commissioner Peña Sarmiento?
Yes.
Commissioner Lay?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush? Motion approved by majority with Commissioner members Carpenter, Ship, and Chair Rush absent with Commissioner Lay abstaining.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to staff comments. Are there any staff comments?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. And before I move on to my staff comment, I would like to introduce you to another staff member of ours, Mario Ariano. He is a former assistant planner from the city of Alhambra. He recently joined us as an associate planner with our planning division. His prior experience includes the city of Rancho Palos Verdes, Bowen Park, and Rosemead. Mauro has a bachelor's degree in urban regional planning from California State Polytechnic University of Pomona. The right one, thank you. And a master's degree in public administration from Cal State University, Long Beach. During his time with Alhambra, he worked with consulting firm from HRG to launch Alhambra's first historic preservation ordinance. Mara will be working with the current planning team as well as assisting our historical preservation efforts here as we continue to build our program. So Mario, would you like to say hello to the commission?
Hello, and thank you. It's been a pleasure having to sit tonight and listen. I look forward to working with you in the near future, and thank you for having me.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. So as you can see, we're, after the presentation tonight from Pedro regarding what we have been able to achieve so far, working with the commissions to continually improve the historic preservation process in our city, but also to restore our program to, its highlights in terms of what it can do for our city, but also what it can do for the future. So as part of that, on April 19th, the City Council adopted the general plan for the city, and it's a comprehensive update that has not been completed since 1982. As part of that update, it included a historic preservation element, which was reviewed and received input from this commission over the period of time when we were developing the general plan. And within it has many elements of what we're talking about today in terms of looking at a broader perspective on how to continue to celebrate our culture and preserve our heritage. And it weaves quite well with the story of looking at how do we brand our city, how do we turn our history into an economic development tool rather than something that would be considered as, preserving something that does not apply in the future. I think those are all great stories that we can continue to talk about, but with the historic preservation element in place, it does provide the framework for us to do many of those things. While, some of those elements are outside of the scope of the Historic Resources Commission, as your staff, I'm committed to, looking at how we can look at the big picture, link of all those elements together and work with the historic preservation, process and the commission and other commissions in our city to implement some of these measures. So just want to share that with you. It was a very historical moment for the council to adopt that general plan, and I just want to share that story. So thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to commission comments. Are there any comments from the commissioners? Let's start with Commissioner Peña-Sarmiento.
Well, just thank you, everyone, for having the patience, to listen and wait for the audio on that presentation. Thank you for, being enthusiastic and asking questions and being open to the research that Commissioner Hardy and myself did. And we look forward to continuing to push forward to advocate for our historic city. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Christie?
Thank you. First of all, welcome, Commissioner Lee. And Andrea, we're looking forward to having you back, and may your birth be well. It's a son, right? Your first child, right? Congratulations. Mario, welcome aboard. Okay, good working with you. Christina, this is your last meeting with us. Oh, well, I've enjoyed, working with you and wish you best. And we understand Sarah is returning. Is that correct? Soon?
Soon.
Soon, that's going there. But thank you for working, and thank you for my package. I appreciate it. Okay, and I can't say enough, but happy Mother's Day to everyone for mothers. Oh, mothers that are here, you guys don't forget that day, okay? And it was a great meeting. Learned a lot on this. That's all I have to say.
Vice Chair, if I apologize, I failed to introduce another member of our staff as we're expanding, Mr. Frank Bergerno. Frank joined us from Kids Work and is a local. He is working with the Neighborhood Improvement Program. Associate Planner? Associate Planner. So please come up and say hello to our commission. I'm sure you'll be seeing many members of the commission as part of the neighborhood meeting process.
Vice Chair and Commission, thank you for having me this evening. Like Executive Director Mint said, I am from the city of Santa Ana, and I've been here for finishing my 5th week. I'm with Neighborhood Initiatives Program, working with Margarita. So yeah, definitely looking forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome to Santa Ana. Okay, Commissioner Hardy.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to report out about our findings for the South Main Street History Walk, and congratulate our new historic properties and Mills Act Agreement properties. Thank you.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Ditto on all of the newbies that have come on board. Welcome. And Christine, good luck with your next venture there. I would like to just do one thing and close this meeting in honor of Melanie McCann, who retired today after 35 years. And I think that's 35 years is a long time to be working in the city. So, you know, congratulations to her and good luck on her next venture.
Great. Commissioner Lay.
Hi, I'm very honored to be here with you guys tonight and having the opportunity to learn from the historic, committee. Great thing, and then see what we have in the future as far as promoting our historic and providing kind of tourism attraction for our future family and kids. And I think that's a great idea, and I'm really excited to see the whole plan coming along. Make it happen. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Before we close, I just wanted to let the commissioners know that next meeting in July will be held in the Ross Annex Conference Room, because our council chambers will be undergoing renovations in the month of June and July. So just to give you a heads up and to let the public know, and we'll have more info about that when the agenda comes out as well.
Thank you. I just want to congratulate all the homeowners. I want to thank the staff for an outstanding presentation. I want to thank the ad hoc committee for such a beautiful, brilliant presentation. And good luck to everybody. And also want to close out the meeting to say that the next meeting of the Historic Resource Commission is scheduled for Thursday, July 7th at 4:30 p.m. in the Ross Annex. And I would like to adjourn the meeting in memory of Melanie McCann for all the years of service she put out. Thank you very much.